Hello, everyone. In this video, I'm going to be discussing providing and receiving feedback. This is in Module 2, the discussion, but before we get into providing and receiving feedback, I wanted to go over what is expected as far as the homework for this week. Again, we're in week 3. You're expected to read the lecture notes in Module 2, as well as complete the Module 2 reflection and the career development plan career narrative, which is located in the Module 2 assignments area. Now I want you to think back to a situation where someone yelled at you when you did something wrong. Just think how it made you feel. More importantly, what did you learn from that situation? How did your behavior change as a result of it, if it even changed at all? Odds are you didn't gain much because there are far more effective ways to give someone feedback like that simply than simply just yelling at them. As you progress through this semester, it's going to be very imperative that you are giving quality feedback to your classmates as well as your instructors and the administrators here at the college. This is going to help you as well as help them develop just by giving them productive feedback or good feedback. Now, there are different sources of feedback. One of the sources is through customers. If you have a business or you work for a business, the way that they provide feedback is one through retention. If they like your service that you're giving them or the product that you're giving them, they're going to continue to come back. Another way is through referrals. That's when they tell other people about your business. Another source of feedback is from your management. If you're employed somewhere, you have supervisors, managers, directors. They also provide you with feedback. They'll tell you whether or not you're doing a good job or if there's something that you need to change in your work. The next source of feedback is data points. For school, you're going to do surveys, but the main way that you get feedback from your instructors or your professors or teachers is by the grade that you receive or some notes that they may give you on some assignments. Your peers, they provide you with feedback as well as coworkers and people in the same field as you. They'll tell you if you're doing something right, if there's something that you need to do to go to the next level, or just let you know how they feel about the job that you're doing. And then if you're in management yourself, people below you in seniority, they're going to let you know, or they'll let you know if you're doing a good job, and you're going to also tell them if they're doing a good job or not. Now, there are 3 components of feedback. You have behavior, the outcome from the behavior, and the desired next step. With the behavior, that's what was done and how it was done. The outcome is the result from that behavior. And then the desired next step is a positive outcome or behavior to engage in into the future. An example of this for school is if you have a test that your instructor gives you, it gives you enough time to study, but you decide not to study for the test. The more than likely outcome is going to be that you got a bad grade on that test. Now, if you did get a bad grade on that test, you're going to see what you got wrong, and hopefully you'll learn that you need to study the next time that there's a test. Now, there's 4 types of feedback that we're going to talk about in this lecture or in this discussion. You have positive feedback, negative feedback, positive feed forward, and negative feed forward. The first type of feedback that we're going to discuss is positive feedback. This is positive past performance. It's meant to encourage you for doing something good, and you want that behavior to be continued in the future. You can say things, I like what you did, or great job. Negative feedback is poor past performance, and that's meant to highlight some bad behavior or some things that you did incorrectly that should not be repeated. And you can say things like, that's not a good job, or you did that wrong. Positive feed forward focuses on good behavior that should be repeated or engaged in the future. So you say things like, keep up the great work. And then negative feed forward focuses on the future and tells the recipient or the person what behaviors to correct or avoid. You can say things like, that was a good try, but maybe you should try to do this next time. In order for your feedback to be effective, you should focus on giving positivity and giving praise to someone. As I previously stated, sometimes you have to give negative feedback, but there is a method for giving negative feedback that's relatively smooth and effective. This method is called the compliment sandwich or the feedback sandwich. And as you can see in this feedback sandwich, you're going to start off by giving positive feedback, and then you're going to tell them what actions need to be corrected, and then you're going to end in positive feedback. Now, example of this for class is your instructor simply comes to you and says, your grades are low, and that was it. How are you going to respond to that? And would you even change your behavior if the statement was just that brief? You're probably not going to change anything, but if I want you to imagine instead, if your instructor used this feedback sandwich and said, I'm really impressed with how much time you spend helping other students, your peers, to learn the assignments. That's going to go a long way for them in doing well in the class, which is great. But instead of spending so much time helping them with their work, maybe you should think about studying harder or taking care of your work before you help them out. And that should help you with the grade that you have in this class. Do you think you're going to respond a little bit better to that when the instructor tells you, it starts off with positivity, then it tells you things that you may want to change, and then it ends in positivity, versus just saying your grade is low? You're probably going to do something different, change up how you're doing things. Now, there are some setbacks with the feedback sandwich. One of the main setbacks or pitfall is that somebody could disguise, they shouldn't try to disguise negative feedback too much. You don't want to give too much positivity at the beginning and too much at the end, and just overshadow your main point in providing feedback, which was to have someone change something that they're doing incorrectly. You want to give constructive feedback and you want to give positivity, but you don't want it to overshadow your main purpose of providing the feedback. Now, we've discussed a lot about giving feedback. Now we're going to talk about how to receive feedback. Receiving feedback effectively starts and ends with establishing a core culture where you don't feel like anyone's giving you feedback is a rival. So if your peers are giving you feedback, or your management or your customers are giving you feedback, don't take it as something negative. You want to start off with thanking the person. This shows gratitude, and it also sets a tone that you're not trying to use the feedback that they give you as them trying to rival you. Now, I'm not going to say that it's not always where somebody's giving you feedback that they're not a rival, but the majority of the time when you're receiving feedback, it's to help you out in the future. So after you start off with giving thanks and setting that tone of being of showing gratitude. You want to restate what you heard if it's something that you're discussing with someone face to face. That gives you an opportunity, or it tells the person that you're understanding the feedback that you're receiving. The fourth thing you want to do is to seek out more feedback. You don't want to just get feedback just from one place. You want to get feedback from different places, because sometimes, again, some people act as rivals, so they may not give you the best feedback. But if you get more feedback from different places and you're starting to hear the same things, then maybe there's truth to what that original feedback came from. So it's always good to seek out more feedback. And then the fifth thing to receiving feedback is to mention what you plan on changing. So if you get a bad grade and you're getting a bad grade in a class, and your instructor tells you that you need to do this, this, and this, you want to make sure that you mention what you plan on changing. So if it's some things that's easy for you to change, let that be known. If it's some things that you're going to need assistance with, let that be known. But you want to mention what you plan on changing. This is the discussion about giving and receiving feedback. Always remember that when you're giving or receiving feedback, it's to help you or help a person change something in the future so that they're better off with what they're trying to do.